moving on from there. So you get started in the streaming game, right? If you're on Twitch, you can make some money, right?
Mhm.
You can make some money on Twitch. Were you making some money on Twitch?
So at the time, no, not really, because I was a relatively small streamer at that time, and I was doing pretty good for myself. I honestly felt like at some point I would, but unfortunately, when you are a right-wing streamer, you know how it is on Twitch. When you're a right-wing streamer, all the forces they circle around, they start circling the wagon, and it didn't take long for me to get banned from Twitch. They actually banned me 3 times indefinitely, and then the fourth time was a permanent ban. I will say at the time, could I have been more optical? Could I have tailored my speech a little bit better? Absolutely. I definitely wasn't aware. I was oblivious to just how extreme the leftist moderation is at that time. So I was not being as like if I could go back and do it again, I would definitely conduct myself differently. But at the same time, what I do now on Odyssey is actually in a way it's liberating, and it's not just a code because obviously there are benefits to being on the mainstream platforms. I'm not going to pretend that there aren't. If I was on Twitch, I think I would be doing much better. Okay. I don't think that's any secret. But I will say that one of the benefits to being on Odyssey for me is that it's liberating and I can freely express myself, which is not something that I could do when I was on Twitch. When I was on Twitch, I always felt like I was walking on eggshells and I always had to like stop and think about what I was going to say. And I had to kind of like pre-scan every single word that came out of my mouth. And that's kind of the problem with the censorship that we're seeing from the left is this is the situation that many of us, especially on the right, find ourselves in, where we really have like we can't just be real human beings and express ourselves and just say what we're thinking and have the most organic interactions possible. Because of the left, we're always in this box where we're just always second guessing ourselves and, oh, can I say this? Can I say that? Is this going to be offensive? Is that going to be controversial? So it's very unfortunate that this is the environment that they've created. I do feel like it's beginning to shift, but yeah. So I wasn't that big, to answer your question in a very long way. I wasn't that big when I was on Twitch. I had a few hundred followers. I honestly don't remember because it's been a while now, but it was beginning to take off. I was definitely ruffling some feathers and I was becoming a known name, um, especially among the leftists on Twitch. They knew who I was, and I very quickly made it onto their hit list. They wanted to take me out. I had very strong opinions on the whole LGBTQ community in particular. So,
And we know who did take you out. I've got confirmation of who did, and that was MX Vivian Wolf.
Yeah,
MX
she.
Vivian Wolf, who went out of MX Vivian Wolf's way to make sure that RPG TV was totally and completely banned from Twitch because this is an Antifa person and a lunatic. For $5, Spurg says, I love the name. Glad to see our guy RPG on the Crucible. Always like to have an RPG here. Love you, King. Keep up the Kino content. We appreciate the $5 super chat. Moving ahead, so you get booted from Twitch, right? I know that you had a tenuous relationship with YouTube. It's always been my opinion that mainstream platforms actually just don't like political discourse at all. I think if they could just if YouTube could get rid of all political discourse in Twitch too, Twitch would just stick with video games and YouTube would just stick with like backpack shows and shit like that, right? That have millions of subscribers and they're not controversial at all, right? These have become massive product pushing platforms. They're not really designed for the type of content that you're after anyway. And so what I've seen happening over and over again is these smaller platforms pop up like Odyssey and things like this. We're like, look, all of your political, the Gab is the same way. All of these political people who cannot express political opinions, they can all come in. The only problem with that is that the marketplace shrinks way down because most of the content seems to be tailored around politics and nothing else. Is that kind of something that you've been running into?
I wouldn't say it's that as much as YouTube. So the main advantage to Twitch is the discoverability is phenomenal on Twitch. And especially the way you can rate other streamers. Rating is a big part of how you grow your stream. Because when you're networking with people on Odyssey, you can tell people, hey, go watch this person after my stream. But like the conversion rate of people that are actually going to do that is not nearly as high as if you just automatically, boom, send people to a friend stream and then, they'll return the favor later on. So I would say the biggest problem with YouTube isn't for me that. It's just that for some reason, I don't know why, but they're making no attempt at all to compete with Twitch. The functionality isn't there. The discoverability isn't there at all. And I would push back a little bit on the idea that YouTube doesn't want politics or Twitch doesn't want politics, because I think that this is a very powerful tool for the regime, especially when it comes to youth outreach. The fact that they can use YouTube and they can, put these funny, cool guys on the screen like Jimmy Kimmel or Hassan Abi to outreach to this demographic that would otherwise have no interest in politics whatsoever. But you get this cool, the foreign guy, Hassan Abi, Chank's nephew. You get, what I'm saying? You get these personalities who make it cool, because politics is lame and boring, and most people aren't interested in it. And I feel like that is a tough demographic to reach, but it's an important one because these people do vote, and also these people are the future as well. So I don't think that they don't want politics at all. I get what you're saying. In one sense, they don't, because it kind of just it muddies the waters, and it creates a lot of headaches for them. But I think in their dream scenario, what they want is the left only, which is basically what we're seeing. We're seeing this shift to a left-dominated online space, and they're slowly, little by little, they are censoring and suppressing and removing more conservatives. So for me, the big struggle is the discoverability on these other platforms. YouTube, it just sucks. Odyssey, it isn't there yet. Trovo was actually not half bad, but the problem with Trovo and DLive also is that the total user base was very small. Whereas if you go on Twitch right now and you look at that top row of streams, there's millions of people in the top row alone, and there's hundreds of rows on Twitch. So you're fighting for a sliver of a very small pie when you're on these old platforms. So that's kind of been the problem for me. Is and I'm also, as far as the mainstream is concerned, I'm more controversial. So it's hard for me to use the mainstream platforms to grow I'm kind of like in between a rock and a hard place. I'm still trying to figure it out, but
And do you rely 100% on the cash you make from streaming to survive?
So what happened was I was working as a software engineer for several years, and I have worked my entire life since I was a teenager. So, and I'm also a fiscally conservative person. I don't just LARP as a conservative on the internet. I've always been fiscally responsible. So I can afford to try to make the streaming thing happen for a little while. I mean, eventually the tank is gonna run out, but we are good for the time being. So I figured, like, life is short, and this is something that I'm truly passionate about. To me, the software engineering, it was a great paycheck, but I wasn't really passionate about it. I felt like I was just doing it for the money, honestly. And I think a lot of people are doing things in life for the wrong reasons. And to me, like, I eat, sleep, and breathe politics. It's extremely important to me. And I want it to be more than just the stream. The stream is kind of the starting point for me. It's the place where I'm going to amass a following, hopefully. And then from there, I will take it to the next level. I don't know what exactly. I definitely would like to get involved in local politics potentially one day, but you have to start somewhere. This is actually something that Vincent James has done. Vincent James, he spent many years building his platform up. He has a news website now. He just moved to Idaho, and now he's getting involved in local politics. So that's kind of, I would say, a loose roadmap for where I could see myself going in the future.